All right, we're back. I believe this is episode three or interview number three today. I'm really excited. I'm going to be bringing on a lady by the name of Anisha. She's the founder and CEO of Checkout.ai. She's got a really interesting background. I'm gonna let her introduce herself, but I was super intrigued by her work. She's just the type of person that whatever she does, she finds her way to the top of the game and does it better than anyone else. And so I'm pumped. Anisha, how are you doing today?
Hi, Sunny. It's lovely to meet you. I'm doing great. It's a beautiful day in New York City, so
Yeah,
excited
you're
to be
saying
here.
it's super hot, right?
It's 93 degrees right now, so
My goodness.
boiling. Yeah.
So checkout.ai, what's the, I don't know, paragraph or two? I've got a bunch of questions prepared. We're going to go deeper into it, but I'd like to kick off, with what you're building right now. And yeah, just loved
Yeah.
hearing about you did this earlier.
Yeah, so Checkout AI is my brainchild, and it comes from my insatiable thirst for consumer clothes purchases, buying behavior. Particularly have been a very data-driven person, and I am very particular about the things that I buy, the things that I eat, the things that I put on my skin. I'm like highly sensitive to a lot of things. And I like to go after niche mid-market brands. But if you go to Amazon, you go to Macy's, you go to any of these big box retailers, they're kind of selling you products that aren't necessarily specific to you. And personalization in the consumer space has been something I've been very passionate about. And so we built Checkout AI to help consumers check out their products in such a manner that they're highly personalized to the brand and as well as to the person, but the brand gets customer intelligence in return. So we're actually helping brands better tailor to their customers.
That is super interesting. Um, So as I was saying, is that one of my favorite things to do with at least the first episode. I love the tech and the business stuff. Obviously, that's what I'm most passionate about. But I love talking more about the person and kind of their story and how they got here. Um, and so I guess yeah, before AI, before Google, before any of it, where did you grow up and what were you obsessed with as a kid?
Yeah, it's a great question. It's definitely an untold story coming as a founder. So I grew up in a family of immigrants. My parents are from Punjab, India, and I was born and raised in the outskirts of Atlanta, Georgia. I was from a small town called Johns Creek, Georgia. And at the time of my upbringing, there was very small Indians, very few of anybody of color. So I grew up kind of in a predominantly white community in the suburbs of Atlanta. And my parents were hardworking immigrants. So I think that's probably where I get my grit and resilience from.
Super interesting. So your first job out of college was journalism with CNN International. I guess most founders, start in code or consulting. Like, what pulled you towards the newsroom first?
Yeah. So actually, funny enough, when I was a kid, I still remember I was given my first laptop by my father. He had like an extra one sitting around. He's also an engineer, and he just left me to my own devices. And so I unpacked the whole thing, brought a bunch of screwdrivers, and I changed the disk drive because just I was like 11. I was like, why not? Just change it. And when I was 12, I was enrolled in the state of Georgia had like a coding camp for girls. So I actually started learning to code when I was very young. At the age of 12, I built like a little mini website. And at the age of 12, I'm not going to say how old I am, but this was like a very long time ago. So 90s, in the 90s, learning to code. And then I then went on to becoming a journalist because at the schools that I was in Atlanta at the time, there really wasn't much like computer science to really follow at the time. There was like one or two courses, nobody really knew what it was. And I wasn't trying to become a mechanical engineer and follow my father's footsteps. So I am very adept at foreign language. So I'm fluent in Hindi, Punjabi, and English. And I applied for an internship at CNN because I was a fluent Punjabi speaker and they didn't have any fluent Punjabi speakers and Hindi speakers on their desk at the time. So I was there not only as a translator, but I very quickly became part of the international assignment team. So that was my early foray into journalism.
You, you've written that your kind of like your CNN days taught you how to turn no's into yeses. So can you tell us that story and what was the no and how did you flip it?
Yeah, I think it's not that necessarily it's a no. It's more of that being a journalist, you're going to get you get the worst of the worst stories. So I was covering stories coming out of Afghanistan and Pakistan and Iran. So I was covering the war in the region of northern parts of India. So I saw what real grit is, what the journalists on the streets have to do. And you will, for lack of a better term, really get shit on as a journalist. It's a very hard job of not only just translation, but coming up with a story and then seeing the pain that people have to endure in like third world countries, especially if there's war and famine and other things. And I think that just taught, that was my early um, understanding of resilience and grit. But that wasn't my first job. I'd started working when I was 16 years old in a doctor's office, and I worked for 2 years there. And I worked in the mall. I've worked since I was 16, so I've always been somebody who's just naturally a workaholic.
Okay, can you I guess what made you trade the press badge for big tech? Can you walk us through the jump into Salesforce and then Google?
Yeah, so I knew long-term journalism not necessarily was going to be for me because there is a ceiling and I had already won an Emmy award. I had already been on like one of the biggest stories of the century. So I was, and I was fairly young at the time, and it was somebody who knew that I had a lot more to offer in terms of business. So right after journalism, I actually started a company called You Debate. So I used some of my journalism skills to start a debating platform for children and for adults. So it was meant to have been Reddit at that time. Like You Debate was supposed to have been Reddit, but I guess Reddit beat me on that. And then after I had done some partnerships at the time with some schools to launch it. Um, and then I learned a lot of failure. That's when I really learned um, that you're going to have a lot of resilience to be a founder. So that took about 3.5, 4 years. And then I moved on to, I applied to Georgia Tech for computer science. When I applied to Georgia Tech for computer science for my master's, I was like, this is going to be a long shot because I like was a journalist before. But I, in my essay, I cited that I was going to, like, I learned how to code and teach myself, and I had 4 years of startup experience. So I don't know how I submitted the application. Still remember, I submitted the application on the due date at like 11:59, and I was like, I'm not gonna get in. And then I did, and I got into Georgia Tech for a master's in computer science, and that changed the trajectory of my career because it was one of the top programs in the country, and that was 2 years long.
That's wild. So
Yeah.
at Google, you ran security policy programs. Essentially, I guess like herding lawyers, engineers, and compliance teams into agreement. Like, what did that teach you about how like kind of massive systems actually get things done?
Yeah, so working at Google, surprisingly running policies, a little bit, it was a combination of all my career, of the startup experience and the journalism experience. Because with journalism, you're actually working with a lot of different stakeholders trying to get a story out. And there's very extremely high pressure. I mean, like security policy, nothing. So I was working with the brightest people in the business at Google, and I developed relationships with the lawyers and like with the senior engineering managers. And what I learned was how to execute in high pressure, highly technical environments at a scale and efficiency. Um, I did that for 3 years, and then I moved on to another team. I moved on to the security privacy team. So I also worked on privacy again at scale with like 600 engineers on a big projects.
You also spent time at Ares Management, like one of the, I guess, biggest managers on the planet. Like, what did sitting near the kind of like the capital side of the table teach you that operators usually miss?
Yeah, so the capital side of the table really taught me and honed in on It was actually the push that drove me to start my own company because I am inherently an engineer and I am somebody who likes to build and scale, especially building. And at a bank or a private asset firm like Ares, there's no building happening. It's a lot of purchasing. So I just started learning how to sell to enterprise. And I was the internal itch to build something was not being fulfilled at Ares. So that's why I made the decision to start my own company. It was like the day of. I was like, I want to start my own company because I am not designed to really be an operator at all.
Hmm. You've performed in theater and written about going from tech essentially to the stage, right? So what does
Mhm.
live performance teach you that the boardroom never could?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So I do have a background in improv and I have a background in stage. Like I've written my own show and I sold out and it was off Broadway in New York. And it all comes down to how you manage your human capital. Like of all the things I've done in my life, it's all about how you manage your human capital. When you're handling multiple stakeholders, whether they're engineers or whether they're lawyers or whether they're actors, you have to understand and very quickly identify personality types, what people need, what people don't want to do, and how you can bring them together to get to the end mission. And I think I figured that out pretty well. Um, the boardroom, I don't think the boardroom can teach you his office politics, but you kind of already know that from high school if you think about it. And I think theater and stage work has taught me more about human capital than any corporate learning would have ever taught me. Because theater is really grit. It's a different type of grit, but it's grit. It's human grit. It's people who have to perform live on stage. They have to memorize rehearsed lines. And that is something that I also still take with me as I've done some improv throughout New York. I need to do a little bit more this year. But it's the quick ability to think on your feet.
So just to like switch gears a little bit, so you went to Stanford GSB mid-career, right? So 2021 to kind of 2023. What were you
Mhm.
actually searching for when you applied? And did you find it?
Yeah, that was really peak pandemic, and I think I have this internal drive to just keep building and growing. And I had come to a point at Google where I wanted to like scale, or I knew I was gonna either become an entrepreneur or scale my career within Google. And I just have this need to constantly be learning something. And I wanted to continue to learn. That really is what it was.
And then your first company, well, I guess no, it was your second, right? You said the first company was named You Debate, correct?
Yeah, Udemy, it was my first company.
So what was you talked a little bit about it, but can you talk just share a little bit about what that I guess 4 years encompassed and I guess what did you learn from there?
Yeah. So it encompassed, I mean, we built out, I had a team, we built out a mobile app, we launched it. I developed some partnerships with schools. So it was debating for students online because debating helps create rhetoric. And I mean, it was essentially supposed to have been Reddit. Like I could have been Reddit. I could have been as big as Reddit. I just didn't scale properly. I didn't have the right resources. A lot of investors said no because it was very consumer facing. But it was if you, the Reddit that you see today was a company called Udebate, owned by me way back when. I do
That's
still own
wild.
the domain, so like maybe I can launch it. We'll see.
Like so there was a moment when you realized like the agent, right? Not the storefront was kind of the real product. Like when was it and like what did you see?
So for checkout, when we were developing that the agent is really the final product, we're still in early phases right now. So we already have like our first phase of products out to a couple early customers. And that is an AI enabled personalized shopping agent that gives customer analytics back to the brands. But the agents are going to come in and perform customer actions on behalf of the customer. So you are profiled and then you go into a brand, and the brand will then just like buy from your previous buying behavior products that could be a good fit. And that's the next wave of AI. Is going to be agentic commerce. Is when the agents are going to take actions on behalf of the consumer.
And was it like late 2025 that the Rails went live? Well,
We have been consult at checkout. We have been consulting for the last 2 years, and
hmm.
I would say we have like we've introduced features every 3 to 4 months. So 2 months ago, we just launched onto Shopify. A month by the end of this month, we'll be on Shopline, which is 600,000 stores for us potentially. So that's what we're doing, a phased rollout of our product features. We have been working with customers since 2024.
Can you kind of like talk a little bit more about checkout in terms of that's interesting, right? This Shopify angle. Can you talk a little bit more about it? So like, what does it feel like? Like, what's the pain point that you're addressing specifically? And yeah, just go deeper into it a little bit in terms of what can people expect when they start using it.
Yeah, so with Shopify, if you are in Shopline or WooCommerce or and if you are an e-commerce brand and you have a direct to consumer sales channel, so if you are selling even one product online to customers, you come on to us. And what we do is in 15 minutes, give you a highly customized and personalized chatbot that you deploy onto your website. And then that will start driving your customer analytics. And your analytics will include data points that are not available on Shopify. So, customer buying behavior, intent, neutrality, location, purchase points, all of that's included on our dashboard.
Wait, hold on. You said it's not just for Shopify, right? So meaning
No.
like anybody with like a Stripe checkout could effectively use this, or is that
So we're Stripe agnostic. Stripe is the payment processor. We are saying anybody with an e-commerce website. So if you have a checkout process on an e-commerce website, any e-commerce website, Shopify is a hosting platform. So if your hosting platform is either Shopify, Shopline, WooCommerce, Wix, doesn't matter. We can install a system that will start like gathering your customer analytics.
super cool? So roughly like 7 in what 10 online shopping carts get abandoned. So how does putting an agent in the store change that math?
So the agent in the store, we've seen an increase of 20% in sales. If a customer engages with our agent and they go through the entire like customer discovery, we see almost 100% conversion from within that customer because the customer has developed buyer trust from us. They have developed that this brand has done their R&D and they feel like the product that they're buying is specific to their unique needs, and the agent is able to very quickly personalize the customer's unique needs and then provide that product into the checkout cart.
And when agents essentially do the shopping, who wins and who loses, right? Like what happens to brands, ads, and kind of like the storefront as we know it?
So that is to be determined, right? So the hyperscalers on OpenAI and Walmart and Amazon have not really successfully deployed agentic shopping just yet. So we are going to be one of the first in the market to do it. What happens at that point, I'm looking at it from a data standpoint, and I see it as there will be a lot of data about the customer that will then be parsed into the agent, and then we are gathering agent plus customer data. So that's 2 layers of data points. And those two data points are what is the genesis of this company. So we're under the hood, we are a data company.
The balloons agree. So I guess like the trust question, right? Like would you let an agent spend your money? Where's the line between, an agent recommending and an agent buying?
Right now, we're at agents recommending. That's where our current product features are because that's what's live on the market. That's what we have deployed to our customers. So there is still human intervention. So that increases trust. The agent trust will increase with time. I have seen this in all my years of work, and especially in the technical field, is that new systems, when they're pushed to the market, there's always this like hesitation. But then in a year, that's what everybody's using because that's what everybody's using, right? We see that a lot with healthcare data. That healthcare, the parallel I'm making is that healthcare data tends, people trust the machine. You trust your Aura ring, you trust your watch, you trust your things. But in the initial phases, nobody trusted these devices to be accurate. It's the same with agents. There will be a learning curve for the average consumer, but this is the future. You can't fight what's going to happen tomorrow. If I don't build the agentic layer system, somebody else will. We're going to do it. We're doing it better than everyone else, but we're building the agentic commerce system.
Your roadmap points to a full agentic marketplace, agents
Mhm.
shopping for customers end to end, within months,
Mhm.
right? So what does what does version one of that actually look like?
So version one of that is what's currently out in the market is that we are gathering consumer behavior data to train our agents, and we're gathering that with our existing customers. And then version two is going to be a pilot of agents that will deploy on behalf of the customers on our existing stores. So if I have 100 stores and you and I'm the customer, I can go to this like system, say, hey, I need to buy like something. It'll cross-reference across the 100 stores within my index.
That's so cool. So you guys are like a 3-person team, right? In a space where like Shopify, OpenAI, and Google are all essentially building like native agents, right? So what's the wedge that a startup can own, that I guess the giants cannot?
Yeah, so we're actually building in conjunction with Google. So we are a Google partner. So they're not definitely not going against us. They're with us on this journey. What we are able to do is we're able to get to the customers significantly faster. And we're able to provide them a turnkey solution that they don't have to implement. So the way, at least as of right now, it works is that it requires a big uplift for for the customer. And Google is not in the business of building agents. They're in the business of supporting startups like us to go do this grunt work. And then they're in the business of infrastructure. They want somebody who can bring in the dollars to pay their infrastructure fees. So the bigger companies are no longer building products and applied AI uses. They're giving That's why they give credits. That's why they give support to startups because we are the idea, right? We're the innovation team. We go out, we talk to the customers, we do the research that would take Google's months to do and be very expensive for them to do. We do it at a lower cost and then we partner with the companies. The hyperscalers are not in the business to go after these like single market, single verticals. They don't
Mm.
do it.
So paint 2031 for us. What does buying something look like in 5 years? Like where is checkout in that picture? And like for everyone watching, like you're pitching um the other day as well. It's like such a fascinating business. But yeah, give us one reason to kind of care. Yeah, like what 5 years from now? What is the vision? I still can't get my head around it.
So the vision in 5 years is to have a fully agentic system in the sense that it will predict also buying needs. So for example, let's say I'll give you an example. Let's say I have a child, right? And I know that the child is growing at a normal pace and whatever. And I tell the agent that my child is this month old. 6 months from now, I don't have to remember that I have to buy clothes at that kid's size. It'll automatically come to me and it will continue to deliver and continue to work with me as an assistant on where I need to be buying and spending money and continue to customize to the child's needs. Or so that's the one example of a customer. Um, and the parent would then, authorize the payment. But
Got it. I love that. Cool. Well, sign me up. I thank you for your time, Anisha. That was really amazing. And hey, I mean, just to end on the note around resilience,
Mhm.
why has that been so important? And maybe if you can juxtapose that versus courage, like we were talking about before. I'm just curious, to maybe double click on that idea.
Yeah, so that's so resilience is something. Okay, so when I was at Stanford, I took a class from a wonderful professor named Professor Kramer, and the class was called Creating a Life of Consequences. And it goes into why you would build the life you want and how would you build it. And resilience was a topic in the classes that there's been studies that have shown that people who are resilient are able to succeed the most. Leaders and startup founders and anybody who has seen extreme success is because they have been resilient. And for me personally, as a female founder in a very male dominated field, in 98% of VC money goes to men, only 2% of VC dollars go to women, especially female founders, especially in the consumer space. And we're not even a consumer company, but I keep getting told I'm a consumer company. I'm a B2B company in the e-commerce vertical. I want to make that clear. But the second they see a woman, it's like, well, she's in consumer. I'm like, no, we're a data intelligence company. But the resilience comes in is I have to hear 100 people calling my baby ugly, and I have to be able to defend that. I, like I said, in my earlier career, I have like achieved a lot for where I'm at is because I kept going. I just have this innate ability to fall down and to get up twice. And fall down once and just keep getting up, just keep getting up and keep going because I'm very like if I have a goal, I'm gonna set it, I'm gonna get there. And then I'm gonna exceed that goal, then I'm gonna do it again. I don't know, it's how I am. I can't teach this to anybody. So
How is it different? Actually, I think that let's end on that note. That was beautiful. That was perfect. Anisha, thank you so much for your time. I see we have a lot of people listening live as well. Thank you all for tuning in. And yeah, Anisha, just hang back for like 1 minute. I'll bring the stream to an end. Until next time, everyone.